Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose with Metalholic Magazine and The Examiner, and with us today, the legendary drumming icon himself from Dio, AC/DC, Rhino Bucket, and of course Dio Disciples, Mr. Simon Wright. How are you?
Hey Rustin, how's it going, man?
Everything is absolutely wonderful, and
Good.
You, as part of all of this, are bringing us more great Dio music here shortly. The Very Beast of Volume 2 is going to be coming out.
Yep, it's out on October the 9th, I believe. And, it's a good retrospect. It starts from the years 1996 and goes through the 2000 years. Has a look at albums Strange Highways, Magica, Killing the Dragon, and Master of the Moon. And there's also some bonus tracks on there. Electra, which is the last track that we did with Ronnie as the Dio band. It was going to be on the Magica 2 and 3, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But on there as well, there is Metal Will Never Die, which is a bonus track Ronnie sung with his cousin Rock Feinstein.
Right.
And there's also a Japanese outtake of Prisoner of Paradise, which was on the Japanese release of Master of the Moon. It's a pretty good compilation here. It's not too bad at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great just to get the track that he did with David from his album. Now, obviously, for the casual Dio fan, you know, they're going to look at the first one and go, well, this is all the hits. But for those who sort of tuned out when grunge came in and didn't come back afterwards, there is some great Dio stuff that was recorded in the aughts. Those albums were just amazing. How did you guys pick which tracks were going to go on this one?
Well, I didn't actually pick. It was Wendy picked them, and her office manager, Dean Schachtel, who's...
Right.
I did have a look at the list, and I had no complaints. I thought there's some really strong material. That was the thing. I think Ronnie, you know, he was always pretty consistent with his albums and his writing, and I think it proves it here because there's some really strong tracks on this new release.
All right, and you did a number of albums as part of Dio, and obviously Ronnie pretty much wrote everything himself. But how did the dynamic work once you guys got into the studio in terms of how you got involved with what your part would sound like and how you would do your thing?
Well, we would always talk about the drums and stuff. We were always pretty much worked out the drums in the demo situation and stuff. I'd mess around on the drum machine, so we'd get a kind of a picture of how the song was going to go and how the drums might go and stuff between the two of us. So by the time we got to the studio, we would change things a little bit, but it kind of stayed pretty much on the same track. So that was that was a good adventure to do too with the drum machine and get things up and running and see how things would progress, and it seemed to work very well that way, you know.
Right. And one of the things that's really interesting about the whole Dio phenomenon, because Ronnie was, to my mind, the greatest rock singer of all time. He may not have had a range like Jeff Tate or one of those guys, but he just had that metal voice that signifies everything. But he also had a knack for finding young players who now have these great names. Everybody knows Simon right now. Everybody knows Rudy Sarzo and Doug Aldrich and all those guys. But to what do you attribute his knack to find these great young players?
Well, I think you're right. He did. I mean, he used to surround himself with amazing guitar players. That's what I liked about him. I don't know. He just, I think he would look at the person too. You had to be, you had to be a good person too. You know, he would always, because it takes more than just being an amazing player to being in a band. You have to get along with people and stuff like that. And I think he had a knack for seeing that too. You know, and it's something you have to look at when you're making those kinds of decisions.
Right. And you said guitar players, but also, I mean, some amazing bass players in the band, Rudy, Jeff, and of course drummers. Basically, it's you and Vinny. I mean, how can you go wrong there? You know.
Well, thank you. Thanks. No, it's the same again. I mean, you're right. Absolutely. I mean, Rudy and Jimmy, and I got the chance to play with them and stuff too. I mean, it's and Jeff as well.
Right.
I mean, my God, they're great players, great musicians, and great people as well, like I was saying. So, I was really lucky.
Yeah, and we can't forget Claude and Scott too on the keyboards that really added atmosphere to everything that you guys did. So,
that's right. I never got the chance to work with Claude, but I've worked with Scott for the past, seems like 300 years.
Yeah.
So, but no, Scott's an amazing keyboard player, and he's a good friend. We're all good friends.
Right.
So
well, and you guys are doing the Dio Disciples thing. What's going on with that right now? Because you guys did some touring, and then everybody was sort of doing some different stuff. I know Ripper was doing his thing, and now Rudy has gone on to do Animoto, and he's doing the Jeff Tate Queensryche thing. What's going on with it right now?
Well, we're starting up. We've got dates, and we're filling in more dates as the days go by. But we start up on 20th October, Anaheim House of Blues here in California. There should be a couple of other California dates as well. And then we're basically heading east, and we end up in New York. I think there's 3 or 4 shows in New York. We end up in Watertown, New York, 21st of November. So, we've managed to pull everybody together, and off we go again. And we'll see what happens. If it's judging by the last tour, it should be great. Everybody seemed to like what we were doing, and we're playing Ronnie's songs and keeping the fire alive, and it was a great time. It should be a good tour, I'm hoping.
Absolutely, and it's wonderful to see and hear. And I'm assuming Ripper's part of it again. Of course, you and Scott and Goldie. Is Rudy going to be able to play, or are you having somebody else handle bass?
We're not sure yet. We're trying to work on that. Rudy's got a lot of commitments, it seems, with a lot of different people. We're hoping he will. It's, he's not the only one. We've all got commitments. Sometimes it's really hard getting this band together in one place. Like a lot of people these days, they've all got other commitments and stuff. I've just done an album a couple of weeks ago with an Italian band that I know, which is so that we've all have other things going on, so it's hard to get everybody together. But Ripper will be there, I'll be there, Goldie will be there, Scott Warren, and we'll see what happens. Nice.
Now, you were also obviously very involved for a long time with Rhino Bucket, and I saw that last year they had put a new drummer in place, but it also sort of said that you had done something this year. Are you back in? Are you still working with them, or is that done now?
Oh, no. I'm not a full member. No, they have a full member now. His name's Dio Disciple.
Right.
He's the drummer. I just got offered some shows.
Okay.
And he asked me, can you bring a band? And I thought, well, okay. How about Rhino Bucket? He went, awesome. Let's do it. So I called up George and stuff, and off we went. So it's basically that kind of thing. And the same thing works from their end too. If they get stuck for a drummer, they give me a call, and I'll try and help out if I'm not doing anything else. We're good friends. The singer George and me are a rabid Manchester United fans, so we're always on the phone, checking out scores.
Well, and you did, you had a lot of stuff in your past coming up, Tora Tora, and then you went off to your other band that did the one album. But then you got to get for about a decade there the AC/DC gig. That's what really sort of put you on the map. How did that sort of come about?
I was in London. I'd moved down from Manchester to London, and a friend of mine showed me an ad in a music paper in the classified, and I answered it, and it didn't say anything about AC/DC. I answered it and went down for an audition, and I did it, and then I got asked back for another audition, and then after that I got asked back again, and I met, it turned out to be AC/DC, so, it's pays to look at those classifieds, I'm telling you sometimes.
So you never even knew, even after you went and auditioned 2 or 3 times, who it was at first, who you were actually auditioning for?
No, I had no idea. I thought it would be a good band because the rehearsal studio was kind of upmarket. It was kind of a bit expensive, and I thought, oh, well, okay, at least this band have some money, So, because I was flat broke, so... it worked out that way, and I got to play, just went in the room, and it's very low-key, and, I was shitting myself, but, it turned out to be okay.
Yeah, so what did you think when they said, okay, well, this is AC/DC we're talking about?
Well, they didn't actually say it. I just saw some flight cases when I was walking to this other rehearsal part of the place, and I turned to the drum tech was in front of me. I said, "You've got to be kidding me, right?" And he just turned around and gave me a smile, and I was like, "Oh, shit," So, yeah, that's the truth. And then I walk in, and he opens the door, and I go in, and there's Angus and Mal and Cliff, and they just shook hands, and I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, nice to meet you." And they were like, "Well, what songs you know?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know, Back in Black. How about that?" So, okay, off we go. Down, down, down. So there we are.
That's just classic. And of course, you've been on some of the world's biggest stages, biggest tours, obviously, with Ronnie and with AC/DC. So there's tons of great stories to tell. But is there some tour story or something among all the tours that you've done that really stands out for you?
Well, it's one of those that you have to kind of be there to really appreciate it. But I remember, and this is with AC/DC, and I'm talking about Brian Johnson. We were stuck in Scandinavia. We were trying to get we were on the bus, and we were trying to get on one of these ferries, and it was just total chaos. There were cars everywhere and buses, and Brian got off the bus, and he was there with his cap, and he's directing all this traffic, and he got us on the ferry. I mean, you had to have been there. It was the funniest looking thing, But he had it totally down. He had everything under control, and he was directing all this traffic, and people were had their arms out waving at him and stuff. And it was funny as hell.
Well, two more quick questions before we get out of here, because I know you got a lot of stuff to do. But I've always wondered, because they always talk about people getting ready for shows, especially with singers, what they do to warm up their voice and everything. But drummers have the most physically demanding job going out on stage every night. What do you do to prepare yourself for each show, and then just to keep your strength up for the tour?
I drink a lot of water. I don't drink beer. I drink beer after the show. But I just really kind of shake my hands a lot. And I know that sounds weird, but I like to get the blood flowing, and you kind of kick your legs about a bit and just get your blood flowing through your veins a little bit, and get everything working again, after you've been trapped on a bus,
Circulation.
Yeah, thank you. That's the word. But other than that, nothing really. I very rarely have a pair of sticks in my hands before I play. I just kind of get up there and do it, and so, that's about it, really. That's about all I do. Shake out, get the circulation going.
Well, you've been doing the Dio Disciple stuff. You just worked with this band in Italy, but you're a big band kind of guy. Are you looking at getting into another big project?
If one came along, I would definitely give it some serious consideration. I would like to, kind of do some other stuff. I've still got a lot of get up and go in me, so I don't know. We'll see. I'll keep my ear to the ground and stuff, but for now, I'm concentrating on Dio Disciple. So,
well, interestingly enough, nobody's ever going to replace Ronnie. It's a whole different dynamic. But you've got an incredible set of musicians right there. You guys could maybe put together one of those. What do they call them? Super groups. But
yeah. Oh, no one's trying to replace Ronnie.
Yeah, nobody ever could.
No. And Tim Ripper Owens knows that. Has total respect.
Absolutely.
I guess we could. I think we're. I don't know that this. It's always a good idea. I mean, there's so many great musicians out there seem to be, forming this and doing that and this band and that band. So if another one of those comes along, I guess we could form another one.
Yeah. All right. And I forgot to ask you earlier on, so I'll actually make this the last question. But I know Craig had said that Ronnie and you guys were working on some stuff. It's tragically at the time of his passing. Did any of that ever get completed? Is Wendy looking at maybe bringing some of that out at some point? Or
well, it never got completed. They were just demos and stuff. But she has mentioned, that she would like to do something with them and try and make them work. It's entirely in her hands.
Right.
You know, she's the one who's going to make that call, and we're just, you know, if there's any way we can help, we will and stuff. But you know, it's something you've got to handle delicately, I think. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Simon Wright, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
No problem, Rustin. Nice talking with you, man.
Absolutely.